Hello, many apologies for the slowness. I don't think anybody's here just yet, but just in case, bear with me, I'll be ready in around 5 minutes. Hello and welcome to my very first stream. I just want to apologise for the technical difficulties. I'm not really an expert at OBS. Streamlab, which is what I'm using at the moment. So today I'm going to be looking at Ipswich Town's new signings, whether I rate them or not, and how they've done so far in their careers. And of course, I've made a slideshow to go along with it. I know you will love a slideshow, so we are actually going to immediately get into it. Again, this is my very first stream. It's not going to be too long, I'm afraid, but still. Join me on Friday actually, where I'll be talking to a few Ipswich Town fans about the Blackpool game. Anyway, how do I do this? Here it is. So Ipswich Town signings. So yes, I have made. We're going to start off with Luke Thomas, who's a winger, attacking midfielder, and he was bought on loan from Barnsley. Their manager controversially said that his attitude and his work ethic is not on. So here are his career stats. He started off at Cheltenham, where he was a youth player. He did rather well there, and he was highly rated at Cheltenham. And he was initially given a trial at Benfica before he ultimately joined Derby County on an undisclosed fee. He's also had various loan spells, Gloucester, Coventry FC, where he did incredibly well, and he was offered a 4-year contract in 2018, although he eventually joined Barnsley on an undisclosed fee after not making an impact at Derby. He was controversially, as I just mentioned, referred to as unprofessional, by Barnsley gaffer Valerian Ismail. And that was quite controversial. Benjamin Bloom actually asked that question during a press conference, and as we all know, the answer was quite controversial. And he also has a few playing positions. He can be played as a forward on the left or on the right, preferably, on a 4-4-2. And he can also play as an attacking midfielder depending on what formation we play. I don't think Paul Lambert will ever play 4-4-2. I can see him playing as an attacking midfielder, although so far he has been played on the wing. Feel free to correct me if I am wrong. His style of play, so I've taken a look at his style of play, and as you can see here he is with the Premier League 2 Player of the Month trophy. He did very well for Derby's Youth Academy. His style of play, his strengths are his dribbling, his defensive contributions, and tackling. He's a very good tackler. And weaknesses include aerial duels, finishing, and passing. Now, we haven't really got any natural finishers in our squad, so I don't know whether any of us should be concerned or not. But from what we've seen from his performances so far, he's actually done pretty well, in my opinion. Next, Luke Thomas. That is Josh Harrop. That is not Luke Thomas. Many apologies for that. Josh Harrop can play as a second striker and attacking midfielder. And here are his career stats. He came through the Man United Academy, which I think everybody knows about, because he scored on his debut a 2-0 win against Crystal Palace in 2017, ultimately assisted by Paul Pogba, and he became Manchester United's 100th different scorer. He then, well, which was quite shocking in a way, signed for Preston despite many people touting him to be a first team player for Man United. He signed for Preston on an undisclosed agreement later that year, though he ultimately suffered a cruciate injury which hampered his form. And he also has three youth caps to his name. So he's 5'9". He isn't the tallest player. And as you can see here, you can read all of his career stats. He's made 52 appearances, for Preston, making 31 appearances off the bench and 7 goals. And I think many would have expected more than from him because he's a great player. He was highly rated at Manchester United, but for some reason it didn't quite work out, and it hasn't worked for him at Preston as well. As I mentioned, he suffered a cruciate injury, which of course affected his career. And I think before I change slides, he's been sent on loan to us really to prove himself. In a way, this is probably his most important move of his career so far. As well, it might determine, or very much determine, his future at Preston. Playing positions, it says here that he predominantly plays on the left of the attacking midfield. For Manchester United on his debut, he did play up front by himself. Well, Paul Pogba behind him actually, so not exactly by himself. But as you can see here, attacking midfielder on the left. And I'm actually trying to think at the moment, like, do we really need attacking midfielders? But to be fair, Keenan Bennett is out. Jack Lancaster was linked with Salford, so maybe we do, but we've also signed a few other players who can play in that position. Predominantly Luke Thomas, I think he played in that position over the weekend. But Josh Harrop, he can play there. He's battling COVID at the moment, so fingers crossed he gets better soon. So his style of play, I've also briefly looked at his style of play. Apologies if you can't see the screen. I'm new to this. His style of play, strengths, taking set pieces. Well, Alan Judge was, well, before he came in, I guess, was the predominant set piece taker. To be honest, I never really saw anything special from Alan Judge's set pieces. Freddie Sears started taking them for a bit. We can all remember on the opening day against Wigan when Sears took the set pieces and, well, they flew into the top row of Portman Road. So hopefully Josh Harrop can provide us with some set pieces. Passing. He's a very good passer, likes to do layoffs, which is, well, very good for teamwork, and he shoots from distance. Weaknesses include his discipline, and he commits fouls all too often. Welcome to anybody who's here at the moment, anybody who's joined my stream live. This isn't going to be a new one or a quick one, of course, sorry. It's going to be a very short one as I'm literally testing out the software here. And I thought I'd do an exciting slideshow just to test this out. So I don't. Okay, ignore that. That is not Luke Thomas. When I edited the slideshow, sorry, I didn't change that bit there. But that is Troy Parrott. Great start. Troy Parrott is there. So Troy Parrott, born in 2002, he's probably one of the youngest players in our squad, apart from Elkin Baggett and Luke Matheson. Career stats, he started his career in Belvedere in Ireland, a club well known for producing their young talent. They've produced such youngsters as Wes Woolehan, and they also produced Stephen Kelly, not the Stephen Kelly that plays for Crystal Palace, at least I think he still plays there. The Stephen Kelly that previously played for Middlesbrough and retired a couple of years ago. He was bought by Tottenham on an undisclosed fee and signed his first pro contract in 2019. He made 2 appearances for Spurs, with his first coming in a 5-0 routing against Burnley. He joined Millwall on a season-long loan. He made 10 appearances, scoring 1 goal before he ultimately got injured. Now, many people, when he first came in, they said, hang on, Troy Parrott does not score many goals. Well, they are right to say that, as we, well, can say, judging off his strengths and weaknesses, but he did get injured. His career or his loan spell at Millwall was very much hampered. So it's almost unfair just to put his finishing, his form there, down to his, well, poor loan spell, really. But he's already been called up to the Ireland squad, and he assisted Sean Maguire during their 3-1 win against New Zealand. And it's worth pointing out that that was Sean Maguire's first ever Ireland goal. His positions, well, he's very similar to the other two players that we've seen, really. All of them can play up front if needed. We are lacking strikers with Jack Lancaster almost going off to Salford. Simpson doesn't look as if he'll ever get a start, to be honest, at Portman Road. And yeah, Norwood is always injured. So we have another option right here in Troy Parrott. Obviously, he can play on the wing as well. He's previously played on the wing, though predominantly he either plays as a forward centre or he can play in a 4-4-2 as the forward left. Though, as you can see here, he has never scored in any of those positions. So that is incorrect because he scored once for Barnsley. His style of play, well, I think we more or less made it obvious earlier on. His finishing isn't exactly a strong point for him, and that will come under the weaknesses. But starting off at strengths, he's a good dribbler, likes to cut inside, which I mentioned earlier because he has played on the wing before. He likes to dribble, likes to shoot from distance, and likes to do layoffs. His weaknesses, as I just alluded to, finishing, holding on to the ball, and his defensive contribution. Now, to be honest, I don't think strikers are ever really going to be known for their finishing. Luke Matheson is good. Yeah, I've actually got it right here. Luke Matheson. I haven't put Luke Thomas in that time. He's a defender slash a midfielder, and he's very young. Some of you might remember his debut where he scored in the, I think it was actually a loss in the end to Man United in the EFL Cup. He was only 16 that day and had GCSEs after the game. He'll take the number 40 shirt. He is a graduate of Rochdale's Academy. Rochdale have produced some decent young players in the past, and he actually made his debut at the age of 15 in the EFL Trophy against Bury. He ultimately won the man of the match in that game, and he made his League One debut, however, against Fleetwood, and became a crucial part of Rochdale's team. As I just mentioned, he scored against Manchester United in the Cup at Old Trafford, and Wolves bought him in for 1 million, which is a lot for a player in League One. Some people argue whether we could even sell any of our players for that much, though I might get a bit of hate in the comments for saying that. Although what is going to garner more hate is the fact he grew up a Norwich fan, although he unfollowed them on social media soon after signing for Ipswich, and he scored one goal for Rochdale, and that was in the league, and I have no idea who that was against. So apologies for that. His style of play, his strengths include taking set pieces, his passing, and he likes to do layoffs. Weaknesses include, well, he also commits fouls all too often, and his discipline also falls under his weaknesses. So there is my quick slideshow. I feel a bit like Dave Gorman for doing that. Do I think any of them will work? Well, to be fair, I reckon hopefully they should hit it off the ground running. I think my main concerns here would perhaps be whether we have too many players in one position. You know, like we mentioned, our own players. We have Simpson, we have Lancaster. I think Lancaster is good enough to start. I have no idea why we wanted to loan him off to Salford. But apart from that, to be fair, we have got quite a lot of injuries. Um, yeah, Norwood, he injured his ankle, which is incredibly unfortunate for him because we're yet to see his best. And Jackson, well, Jackson got sent off last time. I think the club were very much trying to force off a move to Huddersfield for Jackson, although ultimately that didn't help. Their age, I think the ages of the players almost concern me really because we have Matheson, who's actually 18, Troy Parrott, who's also 18, Luke Thomas, who's 19, and Harrop, who's 21. They're all very, very young players, and in my opinion, we have enough young players of quality to start in the first team, and one could argue whether they're any better than the ones we already have. In my opinion, they're not. El Mizouni, he's very, very highly rated, although El Mizuni was ultimately loaned out to Grimsby, which was quite a controversial move. I don't think many people necessarily agreed with that. And Dobra as well. We haven't really seen Dobra much as well. He caused a lot of controversy early on in the season when he was playing away at Bristol in the under-23s, when many had thought he should have actually have had a role in the first team. But we've already spoken about loanees. I'm going to quickly take a look at the comments in a minute, and after that, I will talk about those who I think should stay and those who I think should maybe move on. So yes, let's talk about those who should stay and those who should maybe move on, because it's actually quite an interesting topic, really, because in my opinion, we have an incredibly bloated squad. We have players who could potentially move on. And when it comes to the summer, we have quite a lot of players out of contract. And well, ultimately, we are going to have to take a look into that when it comes to the players. So, first of all, in my opinion, Cole Skuse is I'm going to quickly have a look at the contracts online. Ipswich Town contracts. So contracts expiring in 2021. I just mentioned Cole Skuse. He is 34 years old and he's still injured, and we haven't actually seen him yet this season. He wasn't doing particularly well when he was fit. He was very much a Marmite player, very similar to Luke Chambers. He was an amazing player to have in the dressing room, though he wasn't exactly the most popular in and around the fan base. So players out of contract. Cole Skuse is unfortunately one of them, in my opinion. I'd actually let go of him. Maybe he could join the under 23 staff, because I know he does want to work in the academy after he leaves. So ultimately, that role will more or less be filled, by Flynn Downs. Alan Judge is also out of contract now. Alan Judge is very much a funny one, really, because he was linked to QPR 2 seasons ago, if you can remember, when we were in the Championship. And when he was brought in, he was very much a coup. Many people felt that he was a very good signing at our level. He had been released by Brentford following an injury. If you remember, that injury was actually conflicted to him by one of our own players. So yeah, he didn't really hit the ground off running. He never really had the legs in him to get going, and that's quite sad, really, because I've always felt that he was a very good player. I always felt that Alan Judge had a lot of potential, though ultimately he's hit hot and dry. Wingers are normally the ones who are that inconsistent, but unfortunately for us, it was Alan Judge, and I would let go of him. I reckon we should have let him go to QPR. They were offering a bit of money for him, but yeah, ultimately Mark Warburton didn't bring him in the end. We made the mistake of wanting to keep him, and who can blame us, because at that time it looked like the best option. Andre Dezelle is another one who's out of contract. His contract finishes, on the 21st of June. And is he a player that we want to really keep? In my opinion, yes, he's played well. He played incredibly well over the weekend against Crewe. He was probably one of our best players. And should we want to play our young players or keep them, we need to keep players like Dezelle. Okay, he may be very, very inconsistent, but he has got something in him. He was linked to both Liverpool and Tottenham a couple of years ago. He is our youngest ever, I think he is. It might be his father. Please correct me if I'm wrong, but I think he's our youngest ever debutant. He debuted for us at, I think it was 15. I might be incorrect. Or maybe 14, but I remember that goal against Sheffield Wednesday. But to be honest, again, due to injuries, due to an inconsistent place in the starting lineup. He's never really hit the ground running, but I would keep him. I mentioned earlier how I think the players on loan are no better than the ones we have. Well, a couple of them can play in midfield. As we said earlier, Josh Harrop has previously been tried out in midfield by Preston. Is he any better than Harrop? In my opinion, he's more or less the same. He's had his very impressive performances in the past, and I would ultimately keep him. He is a player that I would keep. Guion Edwards is also out of contract. He started off the season incredibly well. Remember when we were performing very well, sorry. I don't know why I'm apologising. I should really be apologising, because we're awful at the moment, and we started off the season with a false sense of hope. top of the table, and Leon Edwards was our top scorer. He had put in some spectacular shifts. Unfortunately for him, though, injuries, and that is always the case. And I don't think Paul Lambert's tactics really helped him. We either play with a 4-2-3-1 or a 4-3-3, although I think the way he's been playing on in the field. He's even been played as an attacking midfielder or a winger. I think the inconsistencies in regards to his positions have ultimately been a detriment to his career at Portman Road so far. And maybe under a different manager, who knows? Maybe he will do well. Maybe it would be a good performance. Who knows? Fingers crossed. Teddy Bishop is another one out of contract. And to be fair on Teddy Bishop, we're yet to see the best of him either. He's 24 years old now. He's not a young player. He's the player coming towards the latter end of his career as a youngster, I should say. And is he a player that we really want to keep? He is, in my opinion. I like Teddy Bishop. I highly, highly rate him. He got a red card over the weekend. Should we keep him? Yes. Is he any better than what we have? No, he isn't. You know, he's a player who's better than Alan Judge, who also plays in his position. And again, under the right manager, I've said this before, under the right manager, these are players we could actually get a lot out of. These are players who do have a lot of potential. But unfortunately, Paul Lambert has not really shown that. Caden Jackson as well is out of contract. He will ultimately go to Huddersfield at the end of the season. Stephen Ward is also out of contract. Interesting one, Stephen Ward is. He's 36 years old. He's the same age as Luke Chambers. And many people are wondering, well, we haven't bought in a left back. Well, Luke Matheson can play as a left back, though he isn't really a natural in that position, in my opinion, of course. So, Stephen Ward started off well, had a very good debut in a friendly against Colchester. Though ultimately we have two very slow wing backs, and our slow wing backs are really the hindrance to the system that Paul Lambert is trying to play. So I'd get rid of him. Luke Chambers, our captain. Now, this is an interesting one. I was on the Kings of Anglia podcast the other day. Go and check that out. The fans podcast, by the way. And an interesting conversation was brought up whether we should keep Luke Chambers. Somebody said yes. He is a very important figurehead in our squad and he is a leader. And I kind of agree with them. I'd love to see us get promoted again with Luke Chambers. And he deserves it. He doesn't necessarily deserve all the shtick that he gets. He doesn't deserve all the critics that he gets. He has been a very good servant to our club. He has stuck through us thick and thin. He's the first one to defend our club, and he's been a very, very important figure for us. He's arguably up there with Matt Holland. Should we keep him though? I'm going to say yes. Maybe he should be given a bit part role. Maybe he should be given like an assistant manager player type role. A bit like Aaron Wilbraham's role at the latter end of his career. He is now, of course, assistant slash interim manager at Shrewsbury. But yeah, I want to keep him. I want to see him stay at Ipswich even after his playing career. I think some of us are too harsh on him, though over the weekend at Crewe, he did almost concede because he does not have any legs at the back. So ultimately, when the opposition go on the counter, he has not got that yard of pace, so he's ultimately chasing back a little bit. Who else do we have? We have Toto and Ciala. I'd keep Toto and Ciala. I don't see how we'd benefit from letting go of him. He isn't the best, but at this level, at League One, he is absolutely solid. Okay, should we get promoted to the Championship, then I'd get rid of him or I'd loan him out. But League One, solid. He's had a couple of good games. Unfortunately, he has been very, very inconsistent, but still, Ciala is an important player for us when he's in the form. When is he in form, you may ask? Well, he does come into the squad and sometimes have that good performance. Tristan Nydam is also his contract also runs out, and in my opinion, should we keep him? I'm going to say no. He went on loan to Scotland, and I think it was St Johnstone. Please correct me if I'm wrong. And he had a couple of good games there before he was ultimately in the under 23s. And in the under 23s, he got injured, which was very unfortunate for him because he had just been given his big break, really, his chance to prove himself in Scotland. Unfortunately, he's never really found his way back. He's still recovering from that injury. And I think that injury was maybe 3 years ago, 2 years ago. I don't know. He's been injured for a while. I might be exaggerating there a bit. Should we keep him? No, he's a good player. But unfortunately, he's just far. Yeah, I reckon his. I reckon his potential could probably be seen at another club. You know, we've let go of players in the past. I'm thinking of the likes of Hendry, who went to Wigan, although he's been released. He did well to get that move really because it's an important move in your career. We have Emma Hughes, who's also out in contract. We need younger defensive midfielders, and we have those players in our academy, the likes of Liam Gibbs, and of course Flynn Downs. Unfortunately, Emma Hughes has not got the legs in him. He's 27 years old. He can still do a job at another club, depending on the formation and their style of play. But ultimately, in my opinion, he's not good enough anymore. He has struggled whenever he's played for us on the pitch. We were expecting him to be an immediate target man. We all remember when he scored against Newcastle, although he has not shown any of that form or any of that ability. And in my opinion, he is a player we should let go. I'm going to quickly go through these players now, as I think I'm kind of going on a bit too long. James Wilson is out of contract. He's 31. Where on earth is James Wilson? You know, I haven't seen him in absolutely ages. We should let go of him, to be honest. If he's not going to be favoured by Paul Lambert, then he might as well let go of him. There is a team out there that would actually appreciate him, in my opinion. Some people may hate me saying that, but he's probably our best defender, and I don't think he'll ever get a game at Portman Road. So I'm going to say we should let him go. Aaron Drinan, well, we all know what a few fans think about him. He scored his first goal last weekend. And is he a good player? Well, we haven't really shown it. He is a very similar player to Daryl Murphy, where he can hold the ball up. Although ultimately, Aaron Drinan has not been good enough. And in my opinion, I would let go of him purely because, and I mentioned this before, we have better young players. Tyree Simpson, we haven't really seen anything from him yet. Maybe he's a better player than Aaron Drinan. Aaron Drinan was, of course, bought from Waterford by Mick McCarthy, and Mick McCarthy very much touted him as a similar player to Daryl Murphy. Although, unfortunately, as I just said, he hasn't really shown it so far. And Harry Wright, is he still on loan in Sweden? I don't know. Might be. I don't think he ever made a game there. He is very, very short. His father was a legendary goalkeeper for us, although in my opinion, he's never really going to become a number three, to be honest. So I'd let go of him as well. And that is the perfect way to end this video. I just want to thank all of those who tuned in. I'm probably going to stream again tomorrow afternoon under my own banner again because I'd rather have guests when I'm properly comfortable with the setting, when I'm properly comfortable with using StreamYard, because at the moment it's a bit daunting just talking like this, if that makes sense. So I'd rather get used to it, get comfortable with it. To those of you who are watching at the moment, I don't think there are many people at all. Yeah, join me tomorrow. Hopefully, I come prepared with some things to talk about. If you want to join in, then yeah, feel free to send me over a DM. I'll try and set up StreamYard for those of you who do. But yeah, thank you very much. I just want to mention Friday. Hopefully, Friday is going to be more popular than this. I don't think many people really want to hear me talking by myself. Do I blame them? Not really. This is more of a test for me, to be honest, to see whether I like this environment, this setting. On Friday, we have Stephen Lancaster joining us, and we have one more guest as well. But Stephen will be talking to us about the game against Blackpool. And again, I'm hoping to have another guest come along as well. So I'm really looking forward to that. The environment is going to be a bit more chilled out than this. So bring your beers along, bring your beverages, and yeah, enjoy us talking about Ipswich Town or enjoy us talking about the preview to Ipswich Town. Sorry. Anyway, I've gone on far too long. Thank you very much for watching. Follow me on Twitter at Ben Aurier, or you can simply subscribe to this channel for more updates. This week, I'm going to have 2 more videos coming out. One video looking back at the history of Ipswich Town, old players, etc. Though that might very well be coming out next week, depending on whether I get it edited or not. As you all know, I haven't exactly been specific in regards to my time. So hopefully I'll have a few more videos coming out. I prefer making those videos, to be honest, to have more enjoyment doing them. I did try and make a podcast last year, which I think some of you might remember. But for me, it's a commitment due to university, and I struggle with talking like this. I want to get into journalism, I want to get into broadcasting once I graduate. So this is a perfect way to get started. I've been rambling on for far too long. Thank you very much for watching.